We all know by now that you can use ChatGPT to generate profitable trading strategies. By using it to brainstorm strategy ideas, to coding up the actual strategy in TradingView PineScript, ChatGPT can exponentially speed up the strategy creation process. But what do you do when things don't go so well?
Oh my God, this stupid script won't compile. I'm so sick of it.
My last video on using ChatGPT to generate profitable strategies was received amazingly, but I noticed a common thread in the comments section. I was able to follow you until you got to talking about syntax. I wouldn't know which strings of information didn't belong. Simple and simple. Yeah, for you. PSA, if you could use an algorithm to be a long-term profitable trader, every hedge fund would be the market consistently, but they don't.
Whoa.
Nobody said this was going to be easy. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to use ChatGPT to brainstorm, create, and troubleshoot a winning strategy. Let's get cracking. Welcome back to Cracking Cryptocurrency, where we crack the code on profitable cryptocurrency investment and trading. I'm Justin Wise, and today we're going to brainstorm, create, and troubleshoot a profitable crypto trading strategy. Let's go. All right, so we've got ChatGPT right here, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say, I want to create a profitable cryptocurrency trading strategy. I want to code that strategy into PineScript. Can you help me brainstorm ideas for what strategy to create? So we're going to start off with the brainstorming process. Okay, so ChatGPT has given us some pretty good ideas. As you can see, we could select from a moving average crossover strategy, relative strength index strategy, overbought, undersold, a Bollinger Band strategy, a MACD strategy, and a breakout strategy. So you're free to pick whatever strategy you want. ChatGPT can help you code up any strategy that you want. But for the purposes of this video, I like breakout strategies. I'm kind of a breakout trader by nature. So we're going to ask it to help us code a breakout strategy. So we can see here the description is, this strategy involves identifying key levels of support and resistance and entering a trade when the price breaks out of these levels. For example, if the price has been consolidating in a range and breaks out above the upper boundary of the range, it can signal a buy signal. So let's ask ChatGPT if it can help us code such a strategy by saying the following thing. Okay, so I've put quite a bit in this prompt. We're going to go over it with you. And these are all good tips and tricks for you guys to utilize with your own prompts. And let me know down in the comments section what creative prompts and what creative trading ways you guys utilize in your strategies. I'm obviously leveraging some of my experience as a trader, some of my experience previously creating strategies to help me kind of identify exactly what I want, what I know a good strategy is. So I've told it that I like the idea of a breakout strategy. I've asked it to help me code a PineScript trading strategy that identifies range highs and range lows. That's going to be very important. If we're going to be trading breakouts, we have to obviously have some part of the code or some part of our strategy that identifies what a range is and when we're breaking above or below a range. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of method ChatGPT uses to identify a range. And then I'm telling it we want to enter into long trades, a buy trade, when price breaks above the range. And we want to enter into short trades when price breaks down below the range. I put in here, I also want my position size per trade to be calculated using 2% risk per trade with a stop loss and take profit order for each trade. Typically, ChatGPT always gives me trouble when I ask it to calculate my position size. So I'm going to show you guys how I troubleshoot all that here. And then I'm telling it specifically that I want the take profit level to be 25% of the distance between take profit level should be 25% of the distance of the previous range low and range high. And the stop loss order should be 3% below the range high we just broke out of. That's for a long trade. So if we were in a range and we break out of that range, whatever the distance was of that range, we want our take profit order to be 25% of that. And we want our stop loss order to be 3% below where we just entered, basically, right below the level we just broke out of. And just the absolute opposite for short trades. We want to have our take profit level 25% down and 3% above basically where we just entered. So let's see what ChatGPT gives us. Okay. So let's take a look at what we got. So it actually gave us a version 5, which is interesting, even though the syntax here is going to be a little raw. But again, I'm going to show you guys how you can troubleshoot all that without having an extensive knowledge of Pine. Okay, so the first problem I see here is that it is allowing the range high and range low to be determined by the user, and that's not going to work. So let's see if we can ask it. That's the first thing I want to focus on. In the code you gave me. All right, so I just said in the code you gave me, the range high and range low are user inputs. This will not work. I need the code to calculate the range high and range low independently without a user input. So now it's using the highest high function and the lowest low function. So now we are algorithmically determining what the range high and range low are. It's not perfect, but it's not bad. The problem I see is the take profit percent is just a user input and it's 25%. That's not what it wants. That's not what we want. ChatGPT didn't really understand what we wanted there. So let's be a little bit more explicit and focus on that next. Next issue, take profit percent is a user input set to 25%. That's not what I want. I want our take profit level to be 25% of the distance between the range high and the range low and be determined by the script. So this is correct. It gave us an updated version of the script. And as we can see here, our take profit is for a long trade going to be our range high plus 25% of the distance between the previous range high and range low. So that's good. It's exactly what we want. And our range high is, or our stop loss is going to be our range high minus our stop loss percent, which is 3%. So again, that's perfect. And if it's a short trade, it flips that around. Our range low minus, excellent, and our stop loss is above. So this is perfect. Okay, next, let's double check our position size. So risk is, so I'm going to show you guys how to see if that is the correct position size. So for now, let's copy this code over. And we're going to go to TradingView. And as you guys can see, this is a strategy that I had ChatGPT generate for me. Just the ability to have that framework and then have something to work on. I mean, this would have taken me like 10 hours on my own. And there we go. Now, immediately, once we paste this into Pine Editor, we can see that it puts these red squiggly lines underneath some words. And the reason why is because the syntax is wrong, which means this is the wrong thing. Pine Editor doesn't understand what this is. And if we tried to run this right now, it's just not going to run. It's going to give us a compilation error. So if we do that, we can see exactly what's wrong here. And this is the first step in troubleshooting a problem. Identify what the problem actually is. So if we take a close look at this error, we can see it says error at 513 could not find function or function reference highest. Okay, so that means we're trying to use this thing called highest, and TradingView is saying it doesn't understand where it is. And if we click on the error, it'll actually highlight exactly what part of the code is wrong. All right, so the best thing that we can do when we're having Pine problems is we want to open up a new browser and we just type in PineScript user manual. By the way, if you guys are tired of navigating the markets alone, if you want to get more bang for your buck with your cryptocurrency trading, there is no better place to learn than in the Kraken cryptocurrency community. And the best place to start is with our brand new free guide, The 5 Mistakes Holding You Back from Profitable Trading. I've mentored thousands of students across the world on how to create, manage, and execute profitable cryptocurrency trading strategies. And if you guys want to make more money with your cryptocurrency trading, then definitely go check out that free guide. I go through the 5 most common mistakes I see traders make, actionable information to fix those results. Check it out. The link is down in the description. And now back to more profitable strategy creation. And we're going to see that first link, PineScript v5 user manual documentation. And we come here and this entire thing tells us exactly how to use PineScript. So we want to use this highest function. So if we type highest in, and we can see this first result says FAQ. Look back 5 days, find the highest bar. Well, that kind of sounds like what we're trying to do. We're trying to find the highest and the lowest. So if we hit FAQ, it actually has the section highlighted for us from our search. We'll click that. And it says, find the highest and lowest values for the entire data set. Okay, this is to find the all-time high, all-time low. That's not what we want. Let's go back. So let's click on arrays. So on this page, we'll hit Control F and type in highest. We will begin using an array. Okay, that's highest array of the data set. We can see our last high bar, TA highest bars. All right, that's close. That's not actually what we want though. Okay, so this page does not have what we want on it. Let's try the next one, built-ins, and we are gonna search for highest. And here we go. Built-in functions. Many functions are used for the results they return. Support functions often used to calculate technical indicators. TA bar sent TA highest. So if we click on TA highest value for a given number of bars back, TA.highest. Okay, so what we need to do, we go back to our code, we can see the problem is that this needs to be TA.highest. All right, and now all of a sudden it works. Doesn't give us any problems, okay? Now, if you wanted to do this in V5, this is the process you would use. When you come across something you don't understand, go to the PineScript user manual, search through for whatever the problem seems to be, because ChatGPT does understand roughly what function it wants to use, but sometimes it gets the syntax wrong because it hasn't specifically been taught PineScript, okay? But it's pretty good despite that fact. So we can see here that in V5, we want to do highest, but here's the thing. If we click V4 and we search for highest, we can see that highest works with V4. It's not TA.highest in V4, it's highest. So we've got two options. We can either go through and change all of these things that are wrong because they're not V5, or what's a little easier to do is just go up here to where it says version 5 and change that to version 4. And then we'll scroll down and see if we have any errors, and it doesn't look like we have any errors. So let's add this to our chart. Okay, awesome. So it's compiled, it's on our chart. Let's go to the hourly, but we don't have any trades. So something is not quite right here. We're not getting trades. So let's go back to the code and look at it and see maybe why we're not getting any trades. So the next trick I'm going to show you is asking ChatGPT to help us troubleshoot the issue. So in this case, we're not getting any signals, but we're not exactly sure why. So let's go back to ChatGPT and simply tell it. Okay, so ChatGPT gave us some great ideas. It said, check the range period. If you're not getting any signals, you may want to try increasing or decreasing the range period. That would mean specifically the number right here for the high and low, highest high and lowest low. That's a good idea. What else did it tell us? It said, check the chart and data. Make sure you're using the correct chart and time frame for the asset you're trading. Check the strategy settings. Check the code logic. Review the code logic to ensure it's correct. You may want to add print statements to the code to help you understand what's happening. For example, you can add the following line to the code to print out the range high and range low values. That's very important. This right here. This is how you troubleshoot something. We need to see what's going on. So first, we always want to start with the top and move down. So let's see if there's some problem with our range high and range low. So we'll come back down, we'll remove this old one, and we'll add this new one to the chart, and we'll see if there's some problem with our range high and range low. Okay. So doesn't seem like there's a problem. As you can see, our range high and range low are being plotted. And we can see here's a clear case where the range high breaks the, where the trade breaks the range high. But if we look closely, it seems like on that candle, the range high moves up to be that new range high. So we're not actually getting any signals because every time there's a new range high, the signal that we want on the bar where the trade should be entered, it's turning that into the new range high. So let's go back and tell that to ChatGPT. So I told it the problem is every time there's a breakout of the range high value changes to be the high of that new bar. So new signal is ever generated. It meant no signal. How can I change the code so that breaks above the range high or breaks above the range low work? Okay, so it's saying it gave me a fix. And its fix was using this var, and let's see if that's going to work. So we will just take this code, go back over to ChatGPT, paste this in, and of course, let's change this to V4 and add this to our chart. Okay, so we're still not getting any trades. Let's add that plot to see if we're still having the same problem. Ooh, we're not getting any range high, range low calculation. Doesn't seem like we're getting anything. Yeah. Okay, so this was a bit of a dead end. So we're going to go back and we're going to tell ChatGPT that that didn't work. Okay. So it reverted the code for us, and it only made this little change right here. If long entry, if short entry. Copy code. Over here, paste, make that little change to make it a V4. And we'll see. Oh, and we also want to add that plot that it gave us. So let's go get that plot so we can see if we're getting a range high and range low, and we'll see if we still have the same issue. Okay, so no trades yet, but now we've got our range high and range low again. So like, here's a good example, right? So we can clearly see that price breaks above this range high. Here we go on this bar. And so we should be entering into a long trade here with our stop loss right here and our take profit target somewhere around here. So let's look at the logic for how the range high is calculated. So we're looking for, I've got an idea. Let's ask ChatGPT. Let's try changing our long entry condition. All right. So right now, if we look, our long entry condition is a crossover of the high and the range high. Well, obviously that never happens because the high is always the range high. So what we want to check is if the high is greater than the range high on the previous bar. That's what we want. All right. It's still not generating signals. Can we change the long entry and short entry conditions to check if the current high is greater than the value of range high on the previous bar? All right, excellent. So it did exactly the same thing. It put that one there. So we're checking if the high is greater than the range high on the previous bar. It's the same thing as a crossover. We can do crossover too. That's absolutely fine. But let's stick with using ChatGPT's code, and we'll go back over here and we'll paste this in. We'll change this to V4. And of course, just for our troubleshooting, let's go grab that plot code and stick that down at the bottom. And we're going to get the same issue because now we have to move on to the next problem. Boom. Okay. And as we can see, we have this little red error sign right here next to our strategy. So let's click that. And it says error on bar 50. Quantity for entry or order must be a positive number, less or equal to, I think it's 10 trillion or something like that. Past value is negative, a big number. Okay. So we're now getting trade signals. The problem is that the position sizes that we're trying to take are too large or too small. And so this is a common problem. Calculating position sizes is actually easy if you know the math, but tricky or frustrating, downright frustrating if you don't understand the math. So I've taught a lot of students the position sizing math. So I'm going to give this one to you, but let's see if ChatGPT can help us figure it out. So let's go down here and say, okay, we're generating signals now, but the position size formula you used is wrong. Okay, so I'm saying we're generating signals now, but the position size formula you used is wrong. It's giving way too large of numbers or sometimes negative numbers. Position sizes must always be a positive number. Okay. Let's see if that works. We'll copy. We'll come over. We'll paste. And change this to V4. And see what we get. And there we go. We figured it out. Okay, excellent. So let's see if we're taking logical positions. Let's see if we're taking logical trades. We're taking some pretty big positions here. 14 Bitcoin. And let's see here. Well, here's a short trade where we're exiting immediately. So there's something a little off there. Here we get a long trade. Okay, excellent. That looks to be about right. And so our short trades seem a little jacked up. Okay. But our long trades are doing pretty good. Yeah, here we go. Here's a long trade. We're taking profit. A long trade. And we're taking profit. Here's a bad long trade. But it seems the long trades are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Here we take a long trade. And we don't actually quite hit 3%. So, okay, great. And we hit our take profit target. Okay, good. And so we've got an issue with the short trades. Let's go and look at the code and see if there's any reason why that might be. Okay, so this is a pretty common issue. I think the problem here is that the take profit and stop loss level are being used. The same variable is being used across both shorts and longs. And so what I think is likely happening is when we enter into a short trade, for whatever reason, it is defaulting to the take profit level. And in fact, I know that because these, the way PineScript works is that this code runs every bar from the top to the bottom. So even though down here we're setting, if short entry, we're changing the take profit and stop loss, it's changing back every bar to be that. So there's two ways we could fix this. We could either use var to initialize, to one-time initialize this variable, and that allows it to keep its state. Let's just delete this fix and see if ChatGPT can help us solve this problem on its own. Okay, so Occam's razor, the simplest answer is usually the correct fix. So I just told it that we're sharing namespace between two variables for the take profit for long and take profit for short. So can we just use separate variables? The easiest answer is probably the best answer. Okay, there we go. So it's given us the new code. Let's copy this. Go back over and change our version number and see what we get. Okay, our strategy is a little bit all over the place. There's periods in which it's profitable, periods in which it's unprofitable. As you can see, if we ran this trade, this thing's taken 1,441 trades on the 1 hour chart. So let's go back and take a gander. Okay, look, we are entering into a long, which we don't enter take profit. We have a short that cancels that out. So we go flat, essentially. We have a long and take profit on a long. We take a long and enter into a short for our take profit. There's our short and our take profit on our short. There's our next short and our take profit on the short. Pretty good. The short at the bottom. All strategies are going to do that sometimes. A long that actually makes money. A long and a take profit. A long and a take profit. Nice. And okay, so overall, this is pretty good. We've come a long way. We've got a strategy that is dynamically calculating our position size, dynamically calculating our take profit and stop loss, and dynamically calculating when to enter into trades, which is exactly what we want. Now we've just got to make it make money. Why do we think it's not making consistent gains? We got to look. This is where you got to use your intuition. You got to come up with some creative ideas and try to think of creative solutions that are outside the box, or lean on your experience, which you're only going to develop if you start doing. Okay, so let's try and add one quick thing real quick. I noticed that we were kind of flipping back and forth between longs and shorts. So the first thing we should probably do is make sure that if we are long and then we receive a short signal, that our previous long is completely closed out, so that we're just short and we're not holding any additional positions. So let's make that change. I'm noticing that often trades are interrupted by an opposing signal. If I'm long, we'll go short before we hit long take profit or stop loss, for example. Can you add to the code the condition that if we are in a long trade and we get a short signal, we completely close the long trade? Similar for shorts, if we're in a short trade and we get a long signal, that we completely close the long trade. Okay, excellent. So it's added this strategy close segment to our code. That's excellent. That's all we need. We're going to copy this. I'm going to go back over to ChatGPT, or excuse me, TradingView, and change our version number, of course, and see if our results are any different. Okay. Not exceedingly different, but I'm just glad that that is that's in there now. Let's see here. So now we could just start trying to optimize our parameters. For example, we could come up here to our settings and we could try changing the range period. We could try changing our stop loss percent. We could try changing our risk percent to see if any of that's going to work. We could also obviously modify our take profit strategy. Right now it's being dynamically generated by the strategy to be 25% of the previous range. We could set that to be a much bigger number, and that would have helped us out in situations like this. And I think that might be true because typically when we have breakouts in cryptocurrency, we get big breakouts. So that's always a possibility, coming in here and changing this percentage from 25% to maybe 50 or even 75% or even 100%. And the quickest way to do this is tell ChatGPT. Okay, so I've just asked ChatGPT to modify that take profit percentage variable so that I can adjust it from the settings menu without having to change the code every single time. So excellent. It has now just made that small change. And I have all the code I need. Excellent. Let's copy that. Come over here and, of course, change the version. And there's a math error here because obviously that shouldn't have changed at all. Our change where we split our long take profit and long stop loss into separate components did not persist. And if we look at the new code, we can see that it went back to the stop loss and then this thing. So let's just go up here and get that code. Here we go. We just got to make sure we have long take profit and long stop loss and short take profit and short stop loss. So this can happen sometimes, especially if you're having long conversations with ChatGPT. Okay, and we're back. So now we can simply start messing around with our parameters and change this to 50%. Okay, well, that was better. We actually have a strategy that ends profitably now. but 75% not so much, and 100% not so much. So 50 seemed to be the sweet spot. We do make 10%, and we have a run up of over 100% in a long take profit. So overall, this is not looking too bad. We've got a strategy that is wildly successful in some places. Ends up giving us a long period of drawdown, then goes sideways, and now appears to be back up on the climb because we are up about 10%. Let's try one more thing before we conclude this session. All right, nothing's changed. The only thing I want to do is see if we get rid of short trades, if our strategy changes. And we'll go over to our strategy tester, and wow, that made a big difference. Let me move me. Yeah, that made a big difference. We now have a profitable strategy, clocking at almost 19%, 735 total close trades. It's right a little bit more than half the time, with a profit factor of about 1, average trade of about $25.70 per trade. Now, this is a great opportunity for us to come in and start playing with our variables and see if we can find something better. Let's start by trying to increase the range period. And that's getting a little worse, getting a little better, getting a little worse. Let's just keep increasing this up. Generally, my rule of thumb is to only go in multiples of 5. So if we were at 25, we wouldn't actually test 26 because that's overfitting. We just go at 30. And we can see that 30 is a massive change. Now we're 90% profitable, about $200 per average trade. Now let's see if we increase our take profit percentage up to 30. Do things get better? What about 35? Things are getting better. 40. Things are getting better. 45. Things are getting better. 50. Things are getting way better at 50. Okay, so this is a pretty good strategy. You can see we had a massive run up just taking long trades. And essentially this net exit about 440% profit. That's roughly what Bitcoin returned. So this is a much safer way to implement a strategy with Bitcoin rather than just buy and hold. This gives you the opportunity to be in and out of the market. And when you think the market is starting to turn, obviously what this strategy suggests, we have a big drawdown of 61%. So from that high, we lost a lot of money. But what this strategy would suggest, and what you need to do as a trader, is know when to turn your strategy on and off. So this is when you need to start looking at the fundamentals of the underlying market, looking for reasons to think that the bull run is coming to a close, and looking for signals or triggers for you to shift from a long strategy to a shorting strategy to preserve that capital that you've accumulated with your hard work and effort trading. So at this point, you could really do anything you wanted with the code. I would recommend adding some additional take profit methods. I would recommend adding additional methods to check on whether or not you should enter or exit your position. I would use plots to double check that your position sizing is correct. But those are all ways that you can utilize ChatGPT itself to natively diagnose the problem with your script. There's a couple other resources that I want to share with you real quick that are definitely going to come in handy when trying to troubleshoot Pine problems. The problem that you're going to run into with trying to find resources on Pine script, although there are many out there, is that based on the number of users of the programming language, there's just not the vast quantity of users that use it, like something like JavaScript or Python, where you can simply Google search for any issue. Now, I'm going to show you 3 resources that you can use, of course, to find answers for your coding issues with PineScript. The first resource is going to be right in TradingView itself. On TradingView, if we come over here to public chats, and you're going to find the way this works is you're going to have messages up here, and then you're going to have your different chat rooms down here. So you can see this chat room called PineScript Q&A. There's over 200,000 individuals in there right now. Just post your question into the chat. More often than not, you're going to get a quick response. People are very helpful in this chat room, eager to help, and can point you in the right direction, whether it's a script that can show you the right way to code it, whether it's a learning resource online, or whether it's a direct answer to your question. The PineScript Q&A is an invaluable resource. The other great resource is pinecoders.com. This is a collective of some of the best Pine coders that have gotten together, putting together this incredible website. This is filled with tons of FAQs, tons of code examples. So you can come in here, use Control F to search for exactly what you're looking for, and I bet you'll find your answer. And the third and my favorite resource is, of course, to join the Cracking Cryptocurrency Discord by using the link down in the description and using our coding channel. If you scroll down here, you're going to find community, the community tab, and we have a very active coding channel where lots of people are posting their scripts, indicators, ideas, trading strategies, and they're eager to help with your PineScript trading questions. So definitely hop in our Discord, utilize that free resource, and expand your trading strategy coding. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to push the thumbs up button. Lets me know you liked it and also incentivizes me to make more great content. And at the same time, if you're down there, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you never miss another trading video. If you want more content, check out these suggested videos to your side, and we'll see you on the next one.